This is Amud Yomi Gemara in Shabbos Daf Chof Ches Amud Beis. We pick it up on the bottom of Chof Ches and Aleph, and we're in the middle of trying to figure out whether there is a din of Tomas Oyel with R of a Behema Timeya. And we finish on the bottom, in which Rava Mibarnish said to Rav Ashi that we had a kasha on the tzad hashaveh of tzaras and sheretz. Shekain mitame pachas mekizayis, because both tzaras and sheratzim are mitame pachas mekizayis. Timer b'meis, and ask the Gemara, whereas when it comes to a meis, which is what we're trying to learn out, the din of tumas meis, the din of oyel, sheina mitame elo b'kizayis, which there's only tama by a kizayis. So the Gemara continues, and at the very end, the Gemara says, Elo amar Rava mi barnish. Says Rava mi barnish, as we turn over to Chav Ches Beis, and says, Asya v'kal v'chaymer minoitzef shel izim. Again, we're learning out the din of Tomas Oyel by a behema Timeya. Says Rava mi barnish, let's learn out from a kal v'chaymer, from the hairs of izim, of goats here, which contain, the following din. She'enoi mitame b'nigayim. There's no tunas nigayim saras, and yet mitame b'oyel amis. There is tumayel amis. Or behema tamea. So when it comes to behema tamea, which the din is shemitame b'nigayim, einoi din shemitame b'oyel amis. So proves the Gemara there will be a din of oyel, Tomas oyel, on the ar behema temeya. But asks the Gemara, Veladitani Rav Yosef, Lo yochshu melech hashamayim al ar behema tahira bilvad, that the only iris that are fit for melech hashamayim is a behema tahira. So lamay elchasa. What's this halacha? We thought that would be referring to the din of Tomas oyel. But now we just proved, seemingly, that the din of Tomas Oyel is even by Behema Timeya. So says the Gemara, you know what it means, that a Ba'ar Behema Tehoira is the only entity that is fit for Meleches Shamayim. Says the Gemara, what it means is L'tfilin. With regard to Tfilin, that Tfilin need to be constructed from a kosher animal. Says the Gemara, what do you mean? Tefillin behead yoksivu. It's explicitly in the Torah that it says, "L'mantias Torahs Hashem bevicha," in order that the Torah of Hashem should be in your mouth. And for there we learn out min hamutar leficha. It has to be in that which is mutar to your mouth, from a species of animal which is allowed to be in. So says the Gemara, why would we need our din? The Tani Rav Yosef, that Meleches Shamayim is only with Ba'ar Behema Tahira. We already know it from the Mantiyas Torah Hashem Beficha. Says the Gemara, you're right. So let's just clarify. Here we were talking about writing the parshiyos of the tefillin. So continues the Gemara, and the Gemara says, it's referring to Ella Le'oiron. It's referring to the actual R, the hide, the boxes, the batim of the tefillin. But ask the Gemara 1 second. Shin shel tefillin alach l'mashmi Sinai. Says Abaye, the shin on the side of the tefillin, which of course is also made from R, is alach l'mashmi Sinai. So clearly we don't need to learn it else from elsewhere. Says the Gemara, you're right. So you know what the halacha that we're going to learn out is elo likarchan b'sayron u'letoifram begidin. To wrap the parchment with their own hair. The halacha is that they have a long parchment of all the parshiyos. It's rolled up, and then as we wrapped up with one of the hairs of a kosher animal, u'letoifram, and when you sew the batim together as well as to be begidon with the sinews of a kosher animal. And that's what Rav Yosef taught us. Ask the Gemara, Hanami alach l'moshe Sinai, but that as well as alach l'moshe Sinai, the Tanya has learned in the Raisa, tefillin merubah is alach l'moshe Sinai. The fact that tefillin has to be perfectly square is alach l'moshe Sinai. Nechracha is b'sayron. They have to be wrapped with their own hair. V'nis parais begidin, and sewn with their own sinews. That's as well alach l'moshe Sinai. So we don't need to learn it out from elsewhere. Says the Gemara, okay, you're right. ela l'ritzuos. The din that the ritzuos, the tefillin, the straps, have to come down from, have to be made from arbehema ta'ira. Ask the Gemara of Amar Rav Yitzchak Ritzuos Shchur is lachal Moshe Sinai, that as well as the lachal Moshe Sinai. Answers the Gemara, which detail was the lachal Moshe Sinai? Nehei de Gemiri Shchurais. The fact that it has to be perfectly black is the lachal Moshe Sinai. Tahirais mi Gemiri, but that was not. So at the end of the day, this din of Rav Yosef that teaches that lo hochshu l'mnachas shamayim elam lahar behema tahira is talking about the excuse me, the ritzuos of the tefillin. Not that they need to be black, but they need to come from a kosher animal. The end of the day, and that's where we learn out from there. And then and then there's no stira between that and Ravami Barnish that learned out from a Kal V'chaimer, the din of Tumas Oyhel by our Behema Timeya. It says the Gemara, going back really to our previous discussion, my Havi Allah de Tachash, about 15 lines down, the first one line is Tachash. Ask the Gemara, what's the maskana? B'Tachash, Shaya B'mei Moshe. The Ma'isa, was it a kosher animal or was it a non-kosher animal? Says the Gemara Maravillah, Amar Reish Lakish, Omer Hayir Rameir, says Rameir, Tachash B'mei Moshe, Ria B'fnei Atzmehi, it was its own unique creation. Lo Yechriya B'chachamim Min Chayim Min Behimahi, and Chazal cannot determine whether it was a type of chaya, whether it was a type of behema. V'keren achas ha'yisalei b'mischai, and had one horn on his forehead. Of course, this reminds us of the unicorn. L'fisha nizdamin loi l'Moshe, and it was appeared to Moshe l'fisha v'asa mimenu mishkan v'nignas, and subsequently this behema, this tachash, was hidden. Says the Gemara, for the fact that it said there was one horn on its forehead. Why? How do I know that the animal is tar from the fact that it has one horn? The ox, the shar, the bull that Adam Rishon was makriv. So since Adam Rishon was utilizing a kosher animal, says the Gemara, so too this animal must have been a behema taira. Says the Gemara, no, that's a miakrin tarti mashma. It's only if there's two horns is it a kosher animal, and this had one. It's like mi karen ksiv, which implies that it only had one horn. Says the Gemara, v'livsha mina. So why do we learn out from here from the fact that the tachash only had one horn to min behemahu? Answers the Gemara, Keresh, there's another animal called the Keresh. Timin Chayu, which is the type of Chayu of Alessi Alachad, the Karen, and that animal only has one horn. Therefore, therefore we don't know, and that's the suffix that the Gemara concludes with, whether it is a Chaya or a Behema, the Tachash that was around the Bizman Moshe Rabbeinu with which he created the Mishkan. And we continue with the Mishnah on the bottom of Chav Chasim and Beis. Psila lebeged, a wick made of garment, shekip, that you folded it over, but it was not singed. Rabbi Eliezer Omer Tamea, he cannot be used. Excuse me. It is mekabel toma, vein malikim boy, and you cannot use tolate with it. Rav Kiva Omer Tahiri, you malikim. Says the Gemara, what exactly is this machlekes with this wick made of a garment that was folded over but not singed? I understand the machlekes regarding Toma that what? Excuse me. Rav Eliezer Savar Kipulena Moil. Rav Eliezer holds that folding over a garment to make a wick does not create its status as a wick, and it's still considered a garment, still considered clothing, and therefore it's not Makabel Toma. Means still in its original state. Rav Kiva Savar Kipul Moil. Ubatule Batal, the fact that it used to be a beged is null and void, and therefore it's yes mikabel. Excuse me, the opposite. I said it backwards. According to Rav Eliezer, it's still a beged, so a beged's mikabel toma. According to Rav Akiva, it loses its status of its original beged, and therefore it's not mikabel toma. But ask the Gemara, linina lakam V'mai pligi, what's the machlekes? Explains the Gemara, Amar Rav Lazar, Rav Yishev, Chinam, Rav Ada, Barav, Ocha, B'sholosh, Al Sholosh, B'tzumsai, Saskinon. Let's first clarify with precision the exact case that we are talking about. We're 15 lines to the bottom. The first line is Askinon, says the Gemara. We're done with a piece of cloth that is precisely 3 fingers by 3 fingers, which of course is the minimum size to be a beged. Ubiyontish Chalios Erev Shabbos Askinon. We're dealing with the yontif that is on Friday. So explains the Gemara. To Kuli Amis Rav Yehuda Damar, everyone knows Rav Yehuda that says Masikin B'Kelim, you're allowed to fuel a fire with kelim on Yontiv. In Masikin B'Shivrei Kelim, you're not allowed to utilize broken kelim to fuel your fire. Why? Because something that breaks in Yontiv is a din of Noilat. It came into the world in Yontiv, therefore it cannot be used to fuel your fire. Oh, the Kuli Amis do everyone knows of Ula that what Amrula Malik Sarshi Alik. That you must light the majority of the wick that comes out of the oil. So what's the machlekes? And with this we conclude. Rav Eliezer Savar Kibel Einay Mayel. Kibel does not take it out of its status of being a beged. And therefore, if it has the din of a beged, if it came into Alik Beipor to Avalei Sheverkli. Fascinatingly, that once you light one bit of it, it's now broken kli, it's a broken beged because it's on fire. And therefore, and now it's 1 drop less than 3 fingers by 3 fingers. Whichever kli kamalik. Therefore, you're lighting with a broken kli, which is aser on Yantiv, because for all intents and purposes, it's nailat. It's been created just now. And Rav Kiva Savar Kibul Mayil, no, folding it over will help. And therefore, ve'ein tayres kli olav. And therefore, malik, when the time that you actually lighting, it was be'etz ba'alma malik. You're not lighting a garment that's becoming a broken garment, thereby negating you to light from it. You're lighting with a piece of wood. You're lighting with a stam beged, and that's the reason why it is allowed. And Amar Rav Yosef, Tanina, so we learned to the Mishnah also shows the Mazal Yadana my Hilchasa. It was for this halacha, this unique halacha, this machlaikas. Then when it's precisely 3 by 3, whether it's going to allow to be lit with, whether it's going to be called a shever kli or not.